Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our webinar, Digital Transformation and Industry 4.0 and Acumatica meets QDMS. Thank you very much for joining, and thank you for your interest. My name is Kevin Kursat Devecioglu. I am the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today, we'll be talking about Digital Transformation, Industry 4.0, and we'll talk about QDMS, Quality Risk and Compliance Management Software in association with Acumatica. Today we have a great panel full of experts, and we'll share a lot of information with you. There is Alex Kvartikov from Emrys Consulting. He'll be talking about ISO 9001 fundamentals. And we have Roger Hoyt from Integrated Data Technologies Company, also based in New York, just like Alex. He'll be addressing Industry 4.0, cloud technology, and Cloud ERP Acumatica related subjects. And finally, we have Anderson Weg. He's pre-sales software engineer of Bimser International, and he'll be addressing QDMS, Quality Risk and Compliance Management Software, and how it works with Acumatica. So there are many things to talk about. First of all, I'd like to start with our company presentation. I have a very brief presentation, and then I'll hand it over to Alex, and we can learn from his expertise. Our company is Bimser International. We are an enterprise software maker since 1998. We are based in New York. As a company, we believe in simplicity, and we help organizations digitally transform themselves. That is how we design our products, and that's how we operate. We are a group of companies. Our software development center and our global headquarters is in Istanbul metro area. We have another company in Europe for our European operations. And finally, Bimser International is based in New York. Bimser is a certified SAP vendor, a Microsoft Gold partner, and Acumatica independent software vendor. Also, just know that Bimser is ISO 9001 certified and ISO 27001 certified. Currently, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is also in the board of Bimser. So we have, with the help of EBRD, European Bank, we have visibility in international markets as well, in addition to North American market. So since 1998, we have been very focused. We develop only 4 products, such as we have EBA. EBA is our workflow and document management platform. Any organization having any internal operations on a paper, on an Excel sheet, or via email can digitize operations and activities thanks to EBA. BEAM is our asset maintenance and energy management software. QDMS is our quality risk and compliance management software that we'll talk more about today. And finally, Ensemble is a business process management tool. When we look at our products, how we position them, Ensemble is more of a managerial tool with KPI capabilities and performance management capabilities. Other products of ours, EBA, BEAM, and QDMS, they automate processes. All of our products, they can work standalone. They can be integrated with each other. They can be integrated with any ERP, any CRM platform available. They work on cloud. They work on-premise servers. So we have up-to-date technology. I'm getting close to the end of my presentation. I'll just show you some figures based on our activity since 1998. When you look at this slide, you can see how many clients we have, more or less globally. As you can see, we have deployed our products in many different projects, especially as for QDMS that we'll be addressing towards the end of the webinar. We have deployed more than 900 times and still counting. These figures are by the end of last year. And finally, I'd like to give you some information about some of our references. For instance, 3M is one of our clients. They are using our workflow engine in 17 different countries. We have United Nations, which is a great reference of ours. We are proud of it. United Nations is using our document management system for refugee tracking in Syria. We have AstraZeneca in pharma industry using our product in pharmaceutical industry. We have Bridgestone in tire and manufacturing industry. They are using our workflow engine internally for various activities in association with their ERP system. We have Ford and Renault Nissan Alliance as some of our references. More references of ours available on our website. So in a nutshell, that's who we are and what we do. Now I'd like to hand it over to Alex Kvartikov from Emrys Consulting. he'll be addressing about ISO 9001 before we talk about the Industry 4.0 and some more technological subjects. By the way, please keep your microphones muted. If you have any questions, you can type your questions in chat box. At the end of our webinar session, we have a Q&A, question and answer session, and we'll be addressing your questions during Q&A. So thank you for your cooperation. Alex, would you like to take it from here?
Yes.
Thank you, Alex.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin, for inviting me to this presentation. What I'm going to be talking very quickly about ISO 9000 because we have other speakers, so it'll be very quick. But before I start, what I want to say is that I've been associated with Bimser for a little over 6 months, and when I came across the products, I was so impressed that I became a solutions partner because I think, especially, I'm interested in the QDMS tool that supports all the ISO processes. So I think that this is really a wonderful tool to help any business that's involved in ISO certification. So again, what I'm going to be talking today is what is the ISO 9001 standard? What is a quality management system? Why is ISO good for your organization? Then I'll briefly talk about the plan, do, act, check, act cycle. What are the milestones to achieve ISO certification? And how do you then maintain ISO certification? And then a brief summary. Okay, ISO, which really it's called International Organization for Standardization. That's what ISO stands for. It was established in 1987, and that was basically agreed by a number of member nations, and then the ISO 9001 went through a number of iterations, and the latest one is the 2015 version. So to be certified as a ISO 9001 organization, you must implement a quality management system which meets the ISO 9001 requirements. And we'll talk about very briefly what the QMS is all about. Now, it's also very important to mention that ISO 9001 is a fundamental quality management system which other systems have evolved which specialize in different areas. For example, ISO 14001 is for environmental management. There's another one for automotive, aerospace, and medical devices, and there are about close to 24 different ISO systems. But the important thing that I want to mention is that they all follow the ISO 9001 structure. And if you cover 9001, you're basically covering 80 to 90% of all the content of all the other ISO standards. So that's what ISO 9001 is really talk about. All right, so the QMS, the Quality Management System, is a set of documentation for your business that describes what your processes, procedures, your policies, records. So in other words, all the documentation that controls your organization. And they are really describe the rules by which you develop your products and services that are then eventually provided to your customers. So a successful QMS is really designed around your company. And it is tailored to your business, to how you implement your processes. And there are only 4 required documents, part of ISO 9000. However, as part of your business, you may choose to have quite a few more documents, to properly run. Now, the benefits of having ISO in your organization is obviously the primary thing is to improve your customer satisfaction. In other words, deliver a quality product on time. Now, as a result of that, since your reputation improves, your revenue and profitability will improve. But it's important to mention that ISO does not directly manage the finances, but obviously your bottom line will improve as a result of following the ISO principles. Your image and credibility obviously enhance. And as a matter of fact, recently, in the last few years, there were a number of customers that require their suppliers to be ISO certified because they themselves have already been certified to ISO. As once you implemented ISO, your decision-making becomes more structured because it's based on a rationale rather than just making impulsive decisions. Another important aspect of ISO is create a continual improvement process. In other words, you never achieve perfection, but you always look at ways to improve your processes, internal processes, and as a result, your customer satisfaction. The efficiency as a result improves, and all of your internal processes become better integrated. And basically, this is basically what the lean process is all about, is integrating, making your internal processes more efficient. And then, of course, the entire workforce gets involved. The top management to all the workers. So everybody sees that there's a purpose. This is a interesting diagram because it's really the core of ISO and how ISO acts. And basically, on the right side, you see the ISO 9001 clauses. By the way, they're the clauses for all of the ISOs, not just 9001. But the important clauses that start from 4 off to 10. The first 3 clauses are basically definition, introduction, and so on. So, but the meat of the ISO is really from clause 4. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go through all the clauses because obviously I don't have the time, but this diagram shows how all of the requirements are all integrated. As you can see from the left side, you have all your inputs into your quality management system, namely the organization and its context. So that involves both, external and internal organizational issues, and also the expectations of the interested parties. So you have investors, customers, and any other people that are involved in the organization. So they feed into the quality management system with being the planning stage, which is clause number 6. So after the plan has been developed, you then go into both the operation, which is clause 8, and 7, which are the resources which are needed to perform either develop your product or service. Then clause 9 is performance evaluation. Now that's where you evaluate your final service or product as part of the delivery to the customers. And obviously, the feedback from the customer should also be included in the performance evaluation, which then you go through the check phase, and then you look at the improvement of what can be done to improve the process or the product or the service. And that's clause 10. And then you do the act function. So you go back to replan, to again go and continue the cycle. So you can be in that cycle, as a matter of fact, simultaneously, you can be in many cycles, because you can be improving different parts of your service product. So basically, this is kind of a very top-level summary of how the QMS system is operating. All right, so now, your organization would like to achieve ISO certification. So what do you have to really do in order to get there? Okay, first is you have to implement the QMS based on the ISO requirements. And then you have to implement it for and operate it for a certain period of time. While you do that, you identify a certification body that will perform the order to give you the certification. But the important thing is there are quite a few available, but you have to really select the certification body, or they're called registrars, that has experience with your business or what the products are that you manufacture or the service that you provide. That then the whole certification process becomes a lot easier. You internally will have to perform an internal audit to make sure that you indeed comply with all of the QMS requirements, and the records do exist to show that you are following that. Top management will have to conduct a formal review of the QMS process, and again, making decisions on what has to be improved, and what are some of the areas that need attention. Part of the issue is apply the corrective action process to any problems. And then once you believe that you have an operational QMS, then you can invite the registrar to perform what they call a stage 1 review. It's a very preliminary, quick review, just for him or her to be assured that yes, you can pass the full certification. So once that's successfully accomplished, and for a small to medium business, that normally takes half a day. Then a few weeks later, the registrar comes back for stage 2, which is then the final review or audit of your process. And this is more thorough. It takes generally at least 2 days, and you can interview different employees. Certainly, you would spend a lot of time with management to make sure that management is fully on board with the ISO process. And then once the audit is complete, there may be action items which have to be corrected, and after that, the organization will receive formal certification. Okay, now once you achieve certification, you have to maintain it. You don't think that, okay, well, I have the plaque now, I can go back to my old way and forget about all the good stuff that I've implemented. No, because the process has to be maintained, and a yearly audit by the registrar will have to be done. So part of that, you have to conduct again at a minimum, a yearly internal review or an internal audit. And management has to schedule regular management meetings, which have to be documented with action items and to show that there is a organized internal management process in place. All the documents have to be maintained at current levels. All the records, so that's all the data that is generated within the organization, it has to be current. And then obviously every year you have to invite the auditor to perform an audit, which is not as intense as the stage 2 audit, but still, the auditor needs to be convinced that you are following the process. Okay, as I mentioned in my introduction, is that I was very impressed with the QDMS tool that Bimser has providing, and certainly all of the activities that are associated with ISO, what you need to maintain ISO, can be totally managed within the QDMS tool. Okay. So QDMS supports not only ISO 9000, but all of the ISO quality systems. And it's a very friendly, easy to use tool, which really does not depend on the individuals, but it's all managed within the Oracle database. So it's accessible to anybody, and people who have, or the employees who have the privilege and rights to make entry into the tool, then they have a certain password to have access to. It's a modular program. It covers all of the ISO requirements. But if you're a small business, you don't need to have all of the modules, so you can purchase whatever modules you need, and then as you grow, you may then purchase additional modules. And as I mentioned before, it's all the data maintained within a single database. So this is extremely helpful for both the internal audit and the registrar. When he comes in, all the data is available in one place. The tool, as I mentioned, is scalable, so it can support any business, very small business to very large businesses. And it's very flexible on how you would like to use it, both either on cloud or on a local server. And also, the tool is also available with an app for both iOS and Android. And the tool, as Kevin mentioned, has received very positive references from it. All right, this is basically the summary. As I mentioned before, ISO has, in the last about 30 years already, have made a very big impact all over the world because it's accepted in most of the industrial countries. And confidence in ISO will continue to grow because, as we can see now, all the other ISO systems are lining up exactly with ISO 9000. So the ISO 9000, the 2015 version of ISO 9001, offers a really greater flexibility for any organization to create their own QMS, to make it easier to use it on a daily basis. And as a result, you have better integration with your other business activities. You can spread the QMS functionality throughout the organization. Previously, it was kind of responsibility of the quality or the management representative, but in the latest version, the 2015 version, it's spread throughout the organization. The top management is totally responsible for the implementation of the QMS. And in the 2015 version, there's a new requirement on risk-based thinking. Okay, so it wasn't there before in the 2008 version, but now you really should address what are the risks or the top-level risks in your business. And there's also a higher emphasis on performance monitoring to make sure that you continuously monitor the quality in the delivery of your product or service and this improvement process. And QDMS is really the ideal tool to support any ISO quality management system. So this is basically all I have to say. And again, thank you very much for the opportunity that you gave me to make this presentation.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Just for your information, Alex is a popular speaker among quality community in New York metro area. Especially, he's a regular speaker at ASQ meetings. So it's great to learn from him in terms of fundamentals of quality management and business management. So now we have the fundamentals. Let's talk about the technological stuff, right? I like to present you Roger Hoyt from Integrated Data Technologies. Roger will be addressing Industry 4.0 from the point of cloud technology. And I like to leave it to Roger now. Roger, would you like to continue?
Sure. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
And thanks again, everyone, for attending this webinar. I'd like to start by introducing myself. I'm Roger Hoyt, President and CTO of Integrated Data Technology. A bit about ourselves. We've been in business now some 30 years, and our base principle is to bring technology and business processes via ERP consulting, implementation, integration, and support services to all clients, both small and medium size. This page basically shows some of our principal partners that we work with. Bimser and Acumatica, more or less put into this webinar, but the others there are other solutions that we offer consulting to. Some of these are cloud enabled and some are your basic legacy systems. This I show a bit of our customers, and it's wide base from manufacturing, distribution, pharmaceuticals. So we cover just about every sector in the business world. Okay, so now to the meat of today's webinar. When Kevin asked me to do a topic on Industry 4.0, cloud computing, and Acumatica, I said that, it's going to be a bit, quite a big picture. But this picture basically shows you what Industry 4.0 is all about. It's about technology, it's about people, it's about process. To really speak about Industry 4.0, you have to take a little step back and go into a bit of the history. Back in the 18th century, we engaged in what is called Industry 1.0, and that was from the advent of the steam-powered engine. There we had the locomotives that started to run, and that era was called the 1.0. Fast step to Industry 2.0, this is where we had the production plant, the mass assembly lines, and where they start producing cars and so forth. Fast forward to the 20th century, which is Industry 3.0, we saw the automation of the production line through the advent of computers and electronics. From Industry 1.0 through 3.0, each stage took about 100 years to get there. We're now in the era of Industry 4.0, and it took just a matter of about 60 years. If you think Industry 4.0 basically started in the 1970s, where computerization took a main foothold within industry. And since then it has developed, and now we are at 4.0, 60 years later. So when we speak about Industry 4.0, normally we tend to speak about technology, and that's rightfully so. I mean, there's a lot of things involved in this Industry 4.0. Mobile technology, machine-to-machine communication, advanced robotics, Internet of Things. You may have heard of all these things. But the underlying technology that makes these things run is what we call cloud computing or the Internet. As you know, today, we rarely leave home without our cell phones, and our cell phone has to be internet ready because we need to be right on top of things as we go along. But there's another aspect to Industry 4.0 that I need to touch on, and that is basically a management portion where people are involved. To be involved in a Industry 4.0 process, the underlying goals must be a strategy. And that strategy is, how do I deliver products and services in a timely manner and on demand to customer demands? That strategy has to be done by management in any company. That's the focus on there. Then, out of that, you have to have the organization to support an Industry 4.0 initiative. And that is basically, how do I improve the work environment? How can I diversify tasks through automation? And how can I make a man-machine environment work seamlessly? The next step would be the process. Well, what are the processes that you need to have an Industry 4.0? Well, that process means a more efficient and transparent production line, higher flexibility with dynamic controls and execution, which leads to higher productivity and resource efficiency, shorter lead times in terms of delivering the end product, and most importantly, an increase in quality via predictive analysis and error avoidance. Things that ISO 9000 speaks about. This slide basically just summarizes what I just spoke of. So an Industry 4.0 tends to improve productivity. It enhances flexible manufacturing due to the demands of the customer. It improves safety management because now on a production floor, you can have less people interacting with machines, thus reducing any type of hazard, and access to data across the ecosystem. That's important. And that is done via the technology that we now call cloud computing. What are the things that most businesses want in an Industry 4.0 environment? They need to collaborate with customers. They need to product design. They need planning, inventory controls, production control, real-time insight, and business efficiency, which leads us into the next goal, Cloud ERP. To really engage in Industry 4.0, you have to be able to access information anytime, anywhere, on any device. With this, we present Acumatica, the one true cloud ERP system. Acumatica was developed some 10 years ago with one thing in mind, that it needs to run on the cloud. It needs to be accessible on any device with an internet protocol. So the benefits of having a cloud ERP such as Acumatica involves having every employee having access to the relevant information that an ERP has. And what do I mean by that? With Acumatica, you're no longer bound by user license. You are bound, everybody has a chance in it. Acumatica is not user license driven, it's module and process driven. Therefore, if you had a company of 25 users, all 25 users can be in Acumatica, just divided by the process and regulated by what functionalities they need. That removes bottlenecks in companies, because most companies tend to just buy license for users based on a budget that, tends to constrain the company. Acumatica allows you to engage everyone in the process, even extending to your key customers and partners via its API integration and communications. So with that, you can see ERP like Acumatica allows you to scale up and scale down depending on the mode of your business. So a little bit more on the technology behind Acumatica. Like I said, it's a cloud-born ERP system. Therefore, you can access it via a SaaS solution, meaning that you kind of pay as you go. It's hosted for you somewhere on one of the cloud enterprises, or you can do it on a subscription basis where you bring that to a host in-house for you if you're regulated by some type of regulation within your industry that you must have the ERP within your constraints. Or option 3, which is the traditional way of licensing things, where you bring it in-house. So with Acumatica, it's your choice. You can decide where you want to be and have your application run there, with all of them still being accessible via the internet. Again, with Acumatica, you could do it as a SaaS solution on Amazon. It can be hosted out there. Therefore, you don't have any type of infrastructure to maintain. It's all maintained for you. Or you can bring it into a data center, again, with a little less control, but still somewhat within your domain, or in-house. As I said, with Acumatica ERP, it's one part of the solution. Acumatica, we think of it as being a platform. And the reason why we talk of it as being a platform, it's because of its integration capabilities, the APIs that are all available to integrate with other systems, therefore making it an extensible system. One of the biggest drawbacks with legacy ERPs was that it never really lived up to its true billing in terms of being the all-encompass place to where you information live. In other words, where the actual truth live. With Acumatica, because of all of the integration capabilities, you could have a single source of the truth. This is just a bit of Acumatica running on different mediums, laptops, desktops, iPads, and of course, your cell phone. That's the great thing about Acumatica. Again, whatever medium you have, you can still get to the relevant information that you need. A couple more slides of the desktop where you can see it actually gives you trend maps and dashboards that give you insight into your production status. These are just a few screens here that I wanted to include so you can see, since we cannot give an actual demo of Acumatica. And I would say if you want to see Acumatica, a demo of Acumatica, you can always reach out to us. We're willing to give you that full in-depth demonstration of the capabilities of Acumatica. How does Acumatica and QDMS work together? So let's start with a typical scenario right now in the ERP world. You have a bunch of disconnected applications, your CRM, your Salesforce, you have mobile on one side. What happens is that you end up with duplicate data entry because each system owns its own data, thus leading to incorrect information. The information is not shared across, and you have people running around trying to get to the truth. With an Acumatica system, you have a fully integrated system that is able to talk to outside applications via APIs and cloud computing, bringing all the information into one place. So you have one place of the truth, a product, a widget called 123 in Acumatica will be called 123 in QDMS. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to clients and for each system has a different SKU for the same product, which leads to confusion and documentation. You know what happens with that. But Acumatica, because it's all encompassed and you can actually tap into and share information across every system, you benefit from instant updates in any one of the system. You have a single version of the truth, which leads to improving productivity, fewer systems to maintain, and best of all, that information is mobile. You can take it and access it anywhere, anytime, any place. With that, I like to turn it over back to Kevin.
Thank you, Roger. Great presentation, very detailed, great insights. Not only we learned about Industry 4.0 and the fundamentals of it, we also learned about Acumatica and advantages in terms of being a true cloud ERP system and how we can utilize it. So just to recap, we talk about today a business system, ISO 9001, how we can manage it, how we can actually implement it in our businesses. And then we talk about Industry 4.0 and cloud technology, thanks to Alex and Roger's presentations. As I mentioned earlier, Bimser International is a Acumatica independent software vendor that we love working with Acumatica. And one of our products called QDMS, that's our quality risk and compliance management software, which is a proven and very reliable product that we connected to Acumatica, and it's working with Acumatica at the moment. That we like to also show you details of it, how it is running, how it is complementing Acumatica Cloud ERP system from the point of quality management, risk management, and compliance management. For your information, we have deployed QDMS more than 900 times since 1998. We have deployed it in many different industries. Manufacturing is one of them, discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing. In addition to those, we also deployed in service industry, finance, distribution, wholesale, and many other industries. So we have a lot of know-how in terms of quality management, and we are happy to combine this know-how with Acumatica Cloud ERP system. Without further ado, I'd like to present you Anderson Wang, pre-sales software engineer of Bimser International, and he'll show us QDMS and how QDMS quality risk and compliance management system works with Cloud ERP Acumatica. Anderson?
Yes, thank you, Kevin, for leading through us in this webinar. I would also like to thank Alex for informing everybody about ISO 9001 fundamentals. Also, thank you to Roger for telling us about how Cloud ERP Acumatica is important for our current ecosystem or current industries. So leading up to this point in the webinar, we've already built an understanding of how the importance of having a QMS system or having the importance of an ERP system works all together for your company's processes. And we, as mentioned before, we have Bimser International has a product called QDMS. It is our quality risk and compliance management system. And this software, we actually have a foundational integration established, and that is what I'm going to show today. So let me take control. So currently right now I'm logged in. This is how Acumatica would look. Right now I'm going to add in just a few entries of data so that I can show you how the integration works. So right now, I'm putting in an example employee. His name is Andy York. And then also I'm going to do a few more fields we have on top of our employees. We also have vendors. So I'm going to put in Andy York, the vendor, save that within Acumatica. And lastly, we have products also included in this foundational integration. We're going to put in a description 111 just so that we can see it later into the system. Now that I have all three of my products or system information in Acumatica, this is where I show the integration step. Now, this is the foundational integration step. We also do further integrations based on projects. So now I've switched into QDMS, and I'm looking through all of my definitions. And surely enough, I am able to find, if I search Andy Yorker, no, sorry, this is the product. So I'm going to search for the 111. There it is, the 11111s. Yes. Now we're going to look for Andy York. He should be a vendor. We're going to first look for him as a vendor. There it is, Andy York vendor. So this proves that the integration step has been established. And within QDMS, you can have, once you integrate all of your system information, you can have a nice filter. So you can filter through your employees and discover your system information that you brought in from Acumatica and also into QDMS. And with that said, you'll have a stronger management over your processes in terms of quality control or quality assurance. Some of these, if you bring over the system information to QDMS, you can start undergoing a lot of processes in accord to your target quality standards, such as ISO 9001. With this information stored in QDMS, you are able to run particular operations or actions, such as if you want them to have documents assorted, you can plan employees to audits, you can assign them actions, or even have them participating in a training plan. Other information such as vendors, you can have them linked to your customer complaints, or you can also distribute a survey to them through QDMS. And that is an example of how you can undergo a lot of QMS processes using information coming from your ERP. And that concludes my little demonstration of how QDMS and Acumatica, they are integrated with each other. What I had just shown was the foundational integration, vendors, employees, and products. We can do further implementations or further integrations based on the projects. There is also, if you were to refer to our YouTube channel online, there are many videos explaining more about QDMS's features, functions. There's also more in-depth descriptions on how QDMS and Acumatica integration works. And that is going to conclude my portion of this webinar. Thank you again to everybody for listening or taking the time to come and watch what we want to offer in regards to digital transformation, Industry 4.0. That is what we are here to give.
Thank you, Anderson. Thank you very much. Well, we are coming towards the end of our webinar, so let's talk about questions that we have. As I mentioned earlier, you can type your questions in the chat box so we can address them. And I received some of them in the private messages, so I can actually address them and share them with our panel. One of the questions that we have is related to ISO 9001. Alex, it looks like it is for you. For a typical ISO 9001 compliance process, what is the duration?
Okay, you're asking how long is it to become ISO certified?
Yes, that's what I understood.
Yes. Okay, well, it really depends on the state of the company. If the company, before going for ISO certification, has pretty much already adopted the principle of ISO and they have a QMS system functioning, then it's only requires maybe some fine tuning, maybe adding a few documents, and that should be a fairly quick process. It could take as little as maybe 3 months. However, if the company lacks any structure or organization and needs to really establish the ISO requirements from scratch, then that could take 1 year or more, depending on the commitment of the management and the amount of time they're willing to spend on this particular matter.
Thank you, Alex.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see the list of my questions that I have been receiving. Let's see. So one of the questions is for looks like it's for Roger. So what is the main advantage of Acumatica over other ERP systems in general?
Well, Acumatica is a modern ERP, and that's the one of the biggest advantages that you can have. It takes, let me see how to simplify that, is that it's expansive in the sense that you can scale up. Most legacy ERP basically is driven based on user license. Acumatica is not. When you engage with Acumatica, if you have 10 users, 15 users, or 20 users, the price doesn't increase. So it's not driven on the user on the number of transactions that you're going to be doing. Of course, if you're doing 10,000 transactions a month, that means you need more resources to run Acumatica versus if you're doing 1,000. So that's one of the biggest advantages out there. The next would be the fact that because it's a cloud-based ERP, you could have dispersed workforce. You don't have to bring everybody and tether them to a desk. Basically, you can work from home or any place they are. It also brings the information right to their fingertip, so to speak, considering that the fact that you can mobily get to the information at hand. So if you're at a customer, you can bring up their account and conduct a sale right away.
Thank you, Roger. To our audience, just for your information, we are keeping the contact information on the screen right now of our panel. So for future reference, after this webinar, if you'd like to contact us to discuss further, to ask questions or to see a demo or share any of your comments, please feel free to reach out to us. We have our email addresses and phone numbers on the screen at the moment. Let's see another question that we have. So one of the questions looks like it's for you, Anderson. Is there any mobile app available for QDMS to manage the quality management operations?
Yes, that's a good question. There is a mobile application for QDMS. It's very similar to how, people need Acumatica on multiple devices. QDMS works the same way. So we want QDMS fully accessible. If anybody can connect to the internet through any device, they can certainly also manage their quality processes through QDMS. So yes, there is a mobile application.
There's a follow-up question. So what kind of management standards can be complied with QDMS over QDMS? So we talk about ISO 9001. Is there another standard that users, companies can comply with the help of QDMS?
Yes, there is, certainly. So yes, QDMS is a quality management system that goes beyond the ISO 9001. While ISO 9001 is a very popular quality standard, some companies may want to focus on, for instance, ISO 27001 or ISO 14001. These are quality standards built for more specified industries. Other examples would be such as SQF, BRC. I think these are for the quality standards that are for food industries. And we also have quality standards. QDMS is being run for AS 9001D, which is for the aviation industry. QDMS spans across all verticals. It is vertical free. Take that as you may. There's all these quality standards that QDMS can help you comply with.
That's definitely important to share, Anderson. Thank you very much. So just like you mentioned, with the help of QDMS, you can simply comply with any management, any quality standard. ISO 9001 is the holy grail of all the quality and management standards as we know it. That's very universal. And in addition to ISO 9001, just like Anderson mentioned, SQF, BRC, and FDA, other standards that you need to be compliant with can be managed on QDMS, and it's also linked to Acumatica. The typical modules of QDMS are quality document management module, which is very important to manage procedures in an electronic environment for controlling, for distribution, and for versioning, which is very, very vital. And followed by customer complaint module, CAPA, corrective and preventive action, audit management, training, survey, risk management. These are all important parts of any quality management system, simply. So they can all be run and managed on QDMS in an electronic environment. That is very important. And it can also be linked to Acumatica in any point, or any other system, any ERP, any CRM system available in any company, simply. Let me see if I have any other questions that I need to be addressing. So it looks like we addressed all the questions. That's how it looks. And let me see. Okay, that's good. So it looks like we addressed all the questions. We answered them, and it's been actually pretty good. And I'd like to thank our audience, our attendees. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your time. I'd like to thank our panel for sharing that great information, great know-how with us, great insights. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Anderson. Also, in the next slide, you'll see our coming webinar. It's coming up on April 10th. We'll be addressing AS 9001 for aviation industry, which is also heavily regulated industry that needs to be addressed in terms of quality management. And we'll be addressing the fundamentals of AS 9001 and then how you can comply with AS 9001 in an electronic environment. Again, I'd like to thank you for your time and for your interest. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. You have our contact information on the screen. And we look forward to seeing you in our coming webinars. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Thank you.